And today we are going to be learning how to create this Wednesday Addams inspired collar based on the pattern that I created using the circular knitting machine. Yes, folks, the circular knitting machine. I know it's hard to believe, but you can create so many cool things. If you're brand new here, hello. I am a multi-craftual gal who loves to show you all the best tips and tricks, as well as tutorials on how to recreate some of the cool things you see out there. Right now, we're focusing a lot on the knitting machine. I keep getting new knitting machines and keep trying new things and creating new patterns, and I'm really excited about what's coming down the road. One of those patterns to come after this one is this other Wednesday inspired item in the series. If you haven't seen the series, it's great. It's great for the fashion. It's fun. The hubs and I have been watching it together. I think we only have a couple episodes left, but we keep savoring them, and we might finish this weekend. I'm kind of sad, but this was one of those items that I was really inspired to create. She's still in progress. I ran out of black yarn, and I'm waiting for it to come in. So when that's done, we will have a pattern available on Etsy as well as a full tutorial coming. And if you're a member, you will get access to the tutorial before anyone else in the world. It's pretty exciting. So if you like this content, I love doing this content, and you can support the channel in a number of different ways, including for free. So you can just being here watching the video is a huge support. Commenting, sharing, these are all things that don't cost you any money, but they make a huge impact on me and the channel. So thank you so much in advance. Also, there are a number of other ways you can support the channel. If you want to be part of the inaugural Girl Gang, you can join the channel for less than a cup of coffee a month. You can get access to a lot of perks that others will not get. So with that said, we are going to go through the process of creating this pattern right here. Like I said, it's available on Etsy, and it will walk you through all the same steps, but it'll be in written form. I'll have some pictures in there for you. And then also I am always available to answer questions as they come up. I also want to add that this pattern right here was a labor of love. I did multiple iterations, and I did multiple prototypes, and I ended with this right here. This is what, after multiple tests and trials and errors, this is the one that I actually love the most. It's adjustable. You can wear it different sizes. The back of it, you'll see here, is stretchy. It's a drop stitch, and that makes it really easy to put over your head and also for different sizes. So it is a really great. In this video, I'm actually going to show you some mistakes, because I think it's important. I think it's important that we share mistakes and how to fix them. And oh, I made many, but I will definitely keep those in and show you, because we all do it. And I think it's important. So stick around to see some mistakes and how to fix them. And here's what we need. For this project, I will be using a Centro 48 pin, but feel free to use whatever machine you have available. The smaller sizes will just create a smaller collar, which actually might be a really cool look to try out. The other supplies that you will need for this project, obviously, we always need scissors. We will need a crochet hook, because we're going to be doing the crochet seam on both sides. You do want to have a nice clean edge, because that's going to be for your collar. I always have stitch markers available. May not need them for this project, but I always like to have them. You can also use bobby pins if you need to hold your place for any reason. I do recommend also using a hooked darning needle. The hooked kind works really well when you're trying to pick up certain loops, and we are going to be doing a little bit of an advanced technique by adding something like a stop cord or a ravel cord to our project. So I would recommend the hooked kind. If you don't have a hooked kind, that's okay. You can still use the regular kind that came with your machine, but I would recommend just investing, and investing means a couple dollars. They're not that expensive in one of these. And lastly, the yarn that I'm using is this Pound of Love by Lion Brand. It's one of my favorite brands to use on the knitting machine. I rarely have any problems. It doesn't get very staticky, and it works up really well. And it is just a 4-weight, and here's what it looks like. It's just the white. So I definitely recommend this, but any white yarn that you have will work.
So now we're actually going to grab one of the pieces of white yarn. So make sure that it does go around your machine. And we're going to use this as kind of a stop cord or ravel cord, or if you have another name for it, let us know in the comments. It's just a way that we're going to prevent those stitches that we drop from actually going all the way down the project. Because for this specific project, we definitely want to make sure that we have those full knitted corners to create the look that we're going for. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our curved needle and the one piece of white yarn, and we're going to go in the loops directly behind each of the pins. So we're essentially picking all of these up, and you're going to pull it so that it's a little taut. Now you don't want to pull it too hard so that it pops off of the machine, but you're going to go around and you're going to pick up every single loop again on the very back. So make sure as you're looking at this video that you're getting those loops immediately behind. Be very careful because sometimes you could pick up the loop behind the one behind. So you just want to take your time, and you're going to go all the way around and meet back at the point that you originally started at.
So now we just went all the way around, and essentially we're locking, put that down there, we're locking all of these stitches in place because it's creating a barrier essentially. When we drop the stitches, we do not want it to go past this part because this is going to create that really nice definition for the collar portion. So we just need to lock this here in place. That's what we just did. And then what that allows us to do is when we get to the end of our project and we drop all those stitches, it will stop it here. We'll get this nice edge, and we're going to do the same thing on the other end. So now we're just going to knit however many rows we need. As you may know, if you work with drop stitches at all, usually you see kind of a doubling of the stitches. So I'll give you kind of an example here just to show. So this one right here, typically I would do, like for a headband, this is what I was basing it on, I would do about 90 to 100 rows. So with this one, I did 12 rows here, and this is just one of my test patterns that I was doing. So then I did 12 here, and then I wanted to see how much this would stretch. All right, now before we go any further, what I want to point out is these two strings that we did for the ravel cord, or the unravel cord, down here, we actually want these strings to be in the front. Now, we could wait until the project is off of the machine and then pull it through, but because I don't want to forget, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come up here through this center loop, and I'm just going to pull both of these to the other side. Because we are going to tighten those a little bit when we finish the project. So now if you accidentally crochet seam both sides, your little cord is not stuck on the inside.
Now that we've completed 34 rows, it's time to drop our stitches. And I will tell you, this is the updated video because in the first take of this, I made a huge mistake, and I'm actually going to show you that mistake a little bit later on and how to fix it. So I actually dropped the stitches incorrectly. So here we're actually going to keep stitches 1 and 2, and then we're going to start to drop stitches on on pin number 3. So you'll notice the yarn goes under pins 1 and 2, then it's going to go behind 3, in front of 4, behind 5, etc. And you're going to do this all the way around. And it's kind of like when you cast onto your machine, it's a similar process, but essentially we're telling the machine that we're going to drop these stitches, those every other stitches, and that's going to give us that really cool drop stitch effect. So you're just going to go all the way around until you get back to the last pin, which is pin 48. Now this step is really important. Once you get back, make sure you put your yarn into the yarn feeder, and you do need to go around one more time. This is where I messed up last time. I forgot to go around one more time, so then my stitches didn't drop. So anyway, go around around one more time, and then we are going to add our second ravel cord. So we're going to follow the exact same process. We're going to take our curved needle and one long piece of white yarn, and we're going to go behind every single loop. You're going to find that the pins that we dropped, the loop is actually going to be loose. It's not going to be like a really tight loop. That's okay. You're going to pick it up anyway, because what we're doing is we're preventing that second set of 14 rows that we're going to use for the second part of the collar from unraveling. So just go all the way around and make sure to pick up every single one of those loops. After that, you're going to continue and knit the last final 14 rows. You'll also want to make sure that you take the ravel cord and put it to the other side like we did at the beginning. So I almost forgot to do that. Again, it's not the end of the world. You can still pull them through, but I like to do it while we have ease of use on the machine. After we do this, we're going to add our waist yarn. I actually did probably about 10 rows just to make sure we were safe, and then just crank until it falls off of the machine.
Now that we've taken our work off of the machine, it's time to crochet seam both ends together. Now, resist the urge to stretch out your yarn. I know we do that just instinctually, but don't do that here. I am adding a couple stitch markers to the end. Just that helps me when I'm doing the crochet seam finish. If you haven't seen how to do a crochet seam finish, I'm just going to show you briefly here what it looks like. There are a lot of videos out there. I have a video as well. If you did purchase the pattern on Etsy, there is a link to a quick video giving you a little tutorial as well. So we're just going to do this on both sides and then remove the waist yarn. Now we're ready to stretch the project now that we've seamed both ends. So you're gonna just have really a lot of fun with this, and you're just gonna pull it. And you're gonna keep doing that all the way down the sides. Don't miss any. One thing you may notice is at the top of the image right here, you can see that they're a little bit thicker, and that's because we have pins 1, 2, and 48 that we didn't drop, and that's gonna give us the curve. So that's the shape we're looking for that's gonna go around the neck. So that is intentional. And when you're doing this process, just make sure you get every single stitch all the way down to the ravel cord and at the other ravel cord as well. Now we're going to finish the ravel cords. So what you want to do is you want to take on the first set, either side, it doesn't matter, but you're going to pull them so that they're taut, but don't pull too hard. I actually pulled a little too hard on these and got a little bit of a pucker. So just pull so that you can, tighten up that tension. And then you're just going to double knot those two ends together. And then you're just going to hide the tails, and you're going to do this on both sides.
Okay, and this section is so important. What do you do if you mess up the ravel cords? And I told you before, I made a ton of mistakes. But you'll see here, I'm starting to pull and trying to stretch the yarn on this prototype, and the stitches would not release because I forgot to do an extra row after I added the first ravel cord.
Okay, and in full transparency, because I always like to show y'all mistakes because we absolutely learn from mistakes. So I am 100% all in support of fixing mistakes, or this could actually be something that you use in a future project. So when I was adding my ravel cords, what I did was on the cast off portion, I actually messed up. I forgot to go around one extra time before I picked up the loops. So I thought the whole project was scrapped, as we do. I was like, fine, I'll start over. And so I pulled out the ravel cord from the top, and I pulled it out from the bottom. And then after I pulled it out of the top, I realized, oh, but it's not going to unravel. I already locked in all those stitches, and it's just going to unravel here. So now what I have to do is I have to stop the stitches down here from going all the way down. So and this also is another example of how you can customize a project that maybe you work up a tube and you decide, you wanted to do drop stitches, but you didn't want them to go all the way down, but you forgot to plan ahead. This is a way to do that. So right now, all I'm doing is I am taking through both layers. I'm picking up those loops going through. Now, this I'm assuming this is going to work because I'm picking up those loops. But what you want to make sure is if we look up here, this is where the loops are dropping, and you can see that it creates a V. So I'm finding all of these stitches with a V, and then I'm going to come in and go all the way through. So pick up both loops from the bottom and the top, and I'm going to pull my yarn through. Now, because I was frustrated, I did not count. I just measured. So I took both sides like this, and I marked them with my stitch marker. That's the line that I want to try to stick around. I'm going down in some places. This is not going to be perfect, but I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure you've worked on projects before and you spent so much time working on them, and then you get to the finish line and now you have to essentially start over. It happens to all of us. So I'm going to salvage this because this is not, can go all the way through. Make sure you pick them up on both sides. This is not something I'm selling. This is just for me. So if it's a little wonky, I'm going to be okay with that. All right, so now I'm prepared. I have some stitch markers. So if I did accidentally miss a loop, and this is definitely way straighter, again, not perfect, but straight enough. And now we can continue and pull all of our drop stitches. Okay, and we're going to go slow when we get down here, because remember, if we don't have these in, and it's going to slip right out and keep going. So let's start with that one. Did we get it? Yep, got that one. Yay. That one looks like it's live, so let's just mark that. Okay, now you may be saying, how are we going to pick those up? That is a great question. So I am just taking the same piece of yarn and I'm going to come all the way back. Now here we are on the back at one. So let's start with that one. So we'll give our yarn a little tug on this end. Again, we don't want it to be tight. We don't want it to interfere with any of those stitches, but we are going to slip that through the hole. And if I can find, we'll go on that and just loop it through. Okay, that should catch it. Excellent. Then we're going to go back in because we don't want that just hanging out. We're going to come up here, grab this one. Now we have some on the other side too, so we don't want to get too crazy, but we are going to loop around that. And let's go through here. We'll pick up this one. See, look how resourceful. We do not have to start all the way over. Now, if we would have done it correctly the first time, it would have been easier, but yay, I'm so happy. This is why never give up. Never give up. I mean, there are times where I have to completely frog a project and start from scratch. Yes, it does happen. It always happens. So we're just going to do a double knot lightly. I don't want to pull on the tension. So there's one.
And then of course you're just going to tuck the yarn tails and trim off the excess. So if this happens to you, which it may, there is a fix for it. You do not have to scrap your entire project and start from scratch, but let's take a look now at what the finished project looks like and some options there. Now at this point, you can actually just wear the collar as is using those two yarn tails to tie it together. So that's one option. Another option is to add a tie of some kind. I did a crochet tie and I added a couple of loops with some tassels just to add a little different look.
So this is what it looks like with just the yarn tails, which actually still is super cute, and it's a quick way to finish it. Or you can add the optional, as I mentioned, drawstring. I just added a little bit of fringe down here at the bottom. So this pattern is available over on Etsy, linked below. And again, thank you so much to everybody for joining. All of your support is so important, and it allows me to continue to create these patterns and tutorials just for you. So until next time, everybody, see ya!